What would you do if your mother-in-law broke your trust, then posted over 100 photos of your newborn online, out of pure spite? Sounds crazy, right? But this isn't just another crazy Miles story. It's a tale of betrayal, boundaries, and a family line crossed far too many times. That's what it makes a boundary clear. Is it the words we speak, or whether people actually respect them? In this story, the boundary was simple. No photos of the baby on social media. Not on Facebook, not on Instagram, not even in private messages to anyone outside the immediate family group chat. The new parents made it crystal clear before their little one was even born. They weren't being difficult or controlling, they just wanted to protect their newborn's privacy. And in today's world of oversharing and digital footprints, that's not unreasonable, right? But somehow, some people, especially toxic mother-in-laws, treat boundaries like suggestions, not rules, not requests, just optional ideas they can ignore whenever it suits them. In this case, the mother-in-law didn't just ignore the rule, she broke it in secret. It all came to light one casual weekend when the couple ran into an old friend of the mother-in-law, a woman they hadn't seen in over a year, long before the baby was born. And yet, this woman was gushing about how beautiful the baby was, how much she'd grown, how her smile had changed. That's when the gut punch hit. The only way this woman could have known any of that was if she'd been sent pictures, not just once, repeatedly. So, the couple did what many of us might do in that moment. They confronted the issue head-on. No shouting, no drama, just a clear, firm line. No more photos for you. That should have been the end of it. But in these relationship drama podcast moments, it never really is it? See, some narcissistic mother-in-laws don't take no as an answer. They take it as a challenge. Within 24 hours, the mother-in-law had posted over 50 photos of the baby all over her Facebook and WhatsApp status. Pictures that were never meant to be public, private moments, milestones, shared with the world without permission out of pure spite, as if to say, you can't tell me what to do. Now here's the thing, this isn't just about pictures. This is about control, about respect, about a toxic family dynamic that makes new parents feel like they're constantly being tested. And if you've ever dealt with a justnomil, a mother-in-law who refuses to respect boundaries, you know exactly how exhausting that battle can be. So, what do you do when someone you should be able to trust betrays you? What happens when a grandmother weaponizes love to get her way? Was the couple too harsh by cutting off photo access completely? Or were they finally standing up for what they believed in, against a toxic mother-in-law who had crossed the line one too many times? This story isn't just about social media. It's about the deeper wound of family betrayal, the kind that lingers long after the photos are deleted. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to draw a hard line with a family member who just couldn't respect your rules? Let me know in the comments, because sometimes these true revenge stories aren't about revenge at all, they're about survival. So here's the question, when someone crosses your line, and you finally stand up for yourself, what happens next? Well, for this couple, standing up didn't end the drama, it escalated it. After being told, calmly but firmly, that she would no longer receive photos of the baby, the mother-in-law didn't reflect. She didn't apologize. She retaliated. And let me tell you, it wasn't subtle. Within hours, she unleashed a flood of over 50 photos of the baby across her Facebook timeline and WhatsApp status. And these weren't just random baby snapshots, they were deeply personal moments, first smiles, cuddles with mum and dad, even a few that in hindsight felt a little too intimate for the internet. Now pause for a second, because this isn't just about a crazy MIL story. This is about how some people, when they feel like they're losing control, will do anything to take it back, even if it means violating trust. And if you've ever lived through a husband-mom drama, you know how delicate that middle ground is. The person caught in between, usually the husband, feels like a rope in a family tug-of-war. In this case, the husband did what many might consider the right thing. He picked up the phone and called his mom. Not to yell, not to argue, but to lay down the truth. What she did was wrong, and the damage was real. Her response? She cried. Not because she was remorseful, but because she'd been caught. And that's a key trait you'll often see in narcissistic mother-in-law dynamics. The tears come, but not for the people they hurt. The tears are for themselves, for the image they think is being shattered, for the control they feel slipping through their fingers. Eventually, she took the posts down, but by then, the harm had already been done. Strangers, acquaintances, friends of friends, all had access to a child's face and family life without consent. And let's be honest, once something's online, it's never truly gone. What strikes me most about this toxic family moment isn't just the disrespect, it's the sense of entitlement, the idea that I'm the grandmother, so I have the right. But here's the thing. Being family doesn't give you a free pass to cross someone's boundaries. If anything, it means you should try harder to respect them. This isn't just another relationship drama podcast segment. It's a story about how digital betrayal can hurt just as much as emotional betrayal, especially when it's from someone who's supposed to love and protect, not expose. So now, I want to ask you, what would you have done if this were your child? Would you have forgiven the moment the posts came down? Or would that trust be gone for good? And more importantly, do you believe family ties should excuse bad behavior, or is it finally time we stop letting toxic mother-in-laws hide behind the title of grandma? Let's talk about it in the comments. Because some of the most true revenge stories don't end with revenge. They end with letting go. Here's something we don't talk about enough. What does a real apology actually look like? Because when trust is broken, especially by someone in your own family, it's not just the action that hurts. It's the aftermath, the silence, or worse, the fake apology that says, "I'm sorry you feel that way," instead of, "I'm sorry for what I did." And for this couple, that's exactly where things landed. Yes, the mother-in-law deleted the photos. Yes, she cried on the phone, but never, not once, did she take true ownership for her actions. There was no, "I knew what I did was wrong." No, "I'm sorry I violated your wishes as parents." No acknowledgement of the betrayal. Just tears. Guilt-flavored manipulation. And this is where the real damage begins. Because once someone shows you they can't respect your child's privacy, it's hard to trust them with anything else. Not a photo, not a secret, not even a visit. But here's the twist. After a few days of silence, the mother-in-law texted, not to apologize, but to ask for more photos. Can you imagine, after all that drama, still asking to be sent new pictures of the baby? At that point, the couple had a choice, keep the peace or protect their peace. And honestly, they chose the second one. They didn't yell, they didn't cut her off completely, but they stopped sharing. No more updates, no more check-in photos, no more pretend smiles. Because let's face it, when you've lived through a toxic mother-in-law situation, sometimes the only power you have left is silence. Now, some people might say that's too harsh, that family is family, that wives versus mother-in-law stories are always about ego or control. But let me ask you this. Should being someone's mother give them permission to disrespect boundaries again and again? We've heard a lot of crazy mill stories on this show, but this one? It's not loud, it's not violent, it's not dramatic, it's subtle, quiet. Like so many real-life toxic family stories, it's just sad. Because under all the layers of drama, this was supposed to be a happy time, a new baby, a new beginning. But instead, the mother-in-law made it about herself, and maybe that's what makes it so disappointing. And if you're someone who's been through this, a just normal situation, a husband-mom drama, or even a subtle form of family betrayal, then you know, it's not always about revenge. Sometimes it's just about reclaiming your peace. So, here's the conversation I want to open up today. Do you think it's fair to go low contact with a parent when they've repeatedly crossed the line? Or is that giving up too soon? When does keeping the peace turn into losing yourself? Let's talk about it. Let me ask you something that might hit a little close to home. Have you ever had to mourn the relationship you wished you had, while still interacting with the person who never gave it to you? Because that's exactly what happened next for this young family. After the fallout, the photos, the fake tears, the guilt texts, they didn't cut the mother-in-law off completely. They didn't go full no contact. But what they did do was shift, quietly, permanently. From that point on, everything became more formal. Conversations became shorter. Holidays became optional. Instead of sending updates out of guilt, they sent silence out of self-respect. And that's what we often don't talk about enough when it comes to toxic mother-in-law dynamics. It's not always about a big explosion. Sometimes it's just the slow fade, a quiet rewriting of what family means. And honestly, that hurts more than we expect, especially for the husband, who now had to sit with the reality that his mum wasn't the person he thought she was, that this wasn't just a one-off mistake, but a pattern, a personality, a need for control that overruled respect. It's a common thread in so many relationship drama podcast stories, the partner stuck in the middle, torn between the woman who raised them and the woman they're raising a child with. But at some point, neutrality stops being an option, because when one person keeps violating boundaries and the other is just asking to be respected, silence becomes siding with the wrong one. And that's what this husband finally understood. He didn't go on a rampage. He didn't start airing out dirty laundry. He just stopped offering access that hadn't been earned. This wasn't revenge, this wasn't punishment. It was protection. For his wife, for their child, for the peace they were trying to build in their home. Now, to be clear, no one here wanted to turn this into a true revenge story. That's not who they are. But sometimes, setting a hard boundary can feel like revenge to someone who's used to always getting their way. And that brings me to a bigger question, one that a lot of you have probably asked yourself. What happens when you start standing up to a narcissistic mother-in-law and she realizes she's losing her grip? Do you double down on your boundary, or do you let guilt pull you back in? Because guilt is powerful, especially in toxic family relationships. They'll remind you of everything they've done for you, every diaper changed, every birthday gift, every dollar spent, but somehow forget every time they cross the line, and how that made you feel. So here's the final question for this part of the story. When is enough really enough? And do we owe people more chances just because they share our blood? Let me know your thoughts, because this story, like so many Just Normal podcasts, is not just about one family. It's about the choices we all face when family becomes complicated. Let me ask you something simple, but honest. What does walking away from a relationship really look like when you still see that person at holidays or hear about them through the grapevine? Because that's where this family is now. They didn't burn bridges. They didn't go no contact or write dramatic goodbye texts. But they did pull back, and sometimes that's harder than cutting ties. The mother-in-law never apologized the right way. Sure, she deleted the photos, she cried, but there was no real ownership. No, I'm sorry for crossing a boundary. No, I understand why this hurt you. Just damage control. And when apologies sound more like saving face than rebuilding trust, it's hard to move forward. So the couple kept it simple. No more pictures, no more updates, no more second chances. And that was their quiet answer to the whole situation. Now, if you followed this story from the beginning, you probably noticed a pattern. Like so many crazy MIL stories, it's never really about one photo or one outburst. It's about control, about ignoring boundaries until someone finally says enough. And when you finally do set that line, that's when you see who respects you and who was only playing nice until they didn't get their way. What hits hardest in this story isn't the betrayal. It's the fact that this all could have been avoided with one simple thing: respect. But as we've seen in so many toxic family Reddit cases, respect isn't always in the vocabulary of a narcissistic mother-in-law, especially when that new baby isn't just her grandchild, but also her newest emotional bargaining chip. So here's where the story leaves us. A young family moving forward, quietly, protecting their peace, choosing love over guilt, and a MIL left wondering why she no longer gets to be part of the firsts. First words, first birthday, first steps, all behind a wall she built herself. Some people think that's harsh, but others call that healing. And now, I'd love to hear your take. No overthinking needed. Drop her in the comments if you've ever had to build a wall to protect your peace. Or hit right luck if you've ever dealt with a mother-in-law who crossed the line. And if you've been caught in the middle like the husband, just comment stuck. It's simple, it's real, and I promise you're not the only one who's been there. This has been another episode of your go-to Just No Mill podcast for relationship drama, family betrayal, and stories that make you say, "Yep, I know someone just like that." Until next time, keep your boundaries high and your peace even higher. You've been listening to Story Time with Twist. We'll be back soon with more true stories you won't believe, or maybe you will.